that are entirely male. And what you can see here is that women speak the most when they are alone. When there are no men around, the talk time of the women is maximized. But note also, the same is true for men. The men's talk time is the greatest when they are alone too. So it seems that it's homogeneous groups that really maximize individuals' talking participation. If we want to structure institutions that allow people to most fully express their views, then we may want to look at least in part, having gender homogeneous groups, all female groups and all male groups. So what do these results help us to understand? What kinds of situations are these results helpful in understanding? We believe that the results are generalizable to a variety of settings where people deliberate about public matters, matters of public concern. Committees, work teams, in many work situations, people have to come together in small groups, make decisions together. In juries in the United States, for example, many trials are mandated by law to run to be decided by juries rather than judges. But there are some situations where we think these results may not apply. Where might these results not apply? They may not apply when the group does not have to reach a collective decision. Because remember, what we're finding is that the nature of the decision rule makes a great deal of difference. We're finding one pattern with unanimous rule and a different pattern with majority rule. So when the group is not making a decision at all, these results may therefore not apply. These results may also not apply when the group is moderated. That is, a moderator intervening very actively could theoretically, potentially, increase the participation of women, and that would mean that the number of women may matter less. A strong moderator could perhaps influence the dynamics of speech and encourage people who are not participating very much to participate more. So let me summarize here. We started with a concern about inequality. We want to know what are the conditions under which inequality is highest, what are the conditions under which we can decrease inequality the most. And what we found is that the inequality in the group is the highest when the groups have very few men, that is, many women, but unanimous rule. And again, what seems to happen there is that the unanimous rule protects minorities. It protects women when they are a numerical minority, but it protects men when they are in a numerical minority even more. And in fact, the men in the minority seem to leverage the unanimous rule to increase their participation beyond the level of equality. So unanimous rule is very beneficial to women in the minority, but it's even more beneficial to men when they are in a minority. So unanimous rule, it really has a double-edged sword. It protects, but it can also exacerbate and increase inequality. When is inequality lowest? It's lowest when there are very few women and there's unanimous rule. So again, unanimous rule is the best, but it can also be the worst. When we are designing groups that deliberate, designing institutions, we want to keep in mind that we should use unanimous rule very carefully, depending on how many women are in the group. It is not a panacea. It does not work well under all circumstances. We also found that when women are a strong majority, when they're a large majority, the best decision rule to protect women and in fact to achieve equality between the sexes is majority rule. And finally, we found that both genders do the best when they're alone. And so, again, in designing institutions, we may want to keep in mind that there may be a place during the deliberation to have gender homogeneous groups. particularly where we are concerned that women are not participating well in mixed gender groups, we may first want to create a protected space where women only speak with each other. So the key issue we started with is how to create equality for women. It is a necessary standard according to normative theories of deliberation. Many critics have flagged it as problematic. We found that the critics are correct. They're right to worry. And the question is, how do we design institutions that help to address the problem of inequality? Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Tali, y muchas gracias especialmente por haberse adherido a los 15 minutos que teníamos. Hubo un colega ayer que hizo una presentación sobre el uso de juegos en la participación, y una de las cosas que planteó él fue que fue muy importante tener, en algunos casos que lo usan en Brasil, un cronómetro que lo puede ver toda la gente que participa en la reunión, además del presentador, para ayudar colectivamente a monitorear la cantidad de tiempo que habla la gente en las reuniones. Me parece importante. Yo, en cierta forma, con estos papelitos hago el papel ese. Bueno, el próximo, vamos a cambiar el orden de las presentaciones a pedido de Manjula, y el próximo no va a ser, no tiene PowerPoint. El próximo presentador es Vaffi de Nigeria, de la Universidad de Usmanu, Danfodiyo, en Nigeria. Y el título de su presentación, que no está en el programa, es la educación femenina o educación de las mujeres como una forma de arraigar la democracia, un estudio de caso en el estado de Sokoto de Nigeria. So.
Hello, thank you very much for giving me some minutes. It's not very wide to talk about female education in Sokoto, but it's only some experience that I got when I left Niger Republic to Nigeria. I started giving adult education freely as an open school that I started. So I turned my attention again to children, when I saw them selling groundnut on the way. So I want to know what is happening. They have right to go on the street and sell groundnut, or their parents are selling them. So I wanted to do some kind of research that is still progressing. So this paper is focusing on female education as a way of deepening democracy, essentially a case study of Sokoto State. Something that is very important today is that the right of both men and women for education is just a right of food and drink. This has already been recognized since 1948 with the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But the current situation of female education in the world, especially in Sokoto, Nigeria, is another challenge. The poverty and religious considerations remain the largest barrier against education in Sokoto. Paying school fees, and also is another problem for the family that they are looking for their foods. The question that I can ask here, is it female education working in Sokoto or not? In Sokoto State, in the northern Nigeria, resistance to Western education and the parent attitude are among the constraints against the female education in this area. Up to now, many parents find very difficult to send their children, especially the girl, female, to modern Western education. Some parents send their children, if they are boy, unless apart from the Quranic school, they usually send that they call Makaranta Zaure. So Makaranta Zaure is a traditional school, very, you can find in corner. So it's not as a modern school that we know. So this education can't give children any qualification. Most of the time it's pave way for them to go to the street and beg. For the girls, they usually kept them out at the age of 15 or 16 to be married and take their responsibility and the struggle of life. They spend the rest of their times doing the domestic work without getting formal education. Although state government of Sokoto trying to show the willingness with the assistance of UNICEF to eradicate literacy among youth, but up to now the situation is not yet improved. So what are the challenges in this all? The great challenge that we are seeing in this kind of situation is imposing against colonial rule. Sokoto people are imposing against colonial rule. So during the colonial rule, Western education in Sokoto was excluded from their program. Hausa Fulani groups were kept, were behind. They don't like this Western education, and if we compare them to their sisters from the southern part of Nigeria. There are also another challenge is socio-economic factors. Parents of the females in Sokoto are always dominating them simply because they are the ones that they are spending, they are taking their responsibility. Besides, when parents are poor economically, they survive by different ways. For instance, some of them, they send their children to market to go and sell or beg instead of sending them to school. Another challenge that is more than all is early marriage. This kind of marriage is found in most of the Muslim communities in Nigeria, especially in Sokoto. The question of early marriage that is still continuing to serve as a slowdown for female education in the area. Who we can blame in this? Is it government or family? I can say the family and government are all blamed because they are the ones that are keeping this kind of norm. The question is, northern Nigeria is too Islamically. I asked myself, is the root of this slowdown of education, of female education, is coming from Islamic perspective? When looking down to Quran and the prophetic traditions, we can notice that all men and women are recommended to seek for knowledge without any discrimination between men and women. And on the other hand, the issues of knowledge in Islam are not only a kind of choice for Muslims, but it's also obligation upon everybody. You have to go to school, even to China. Upon that all, I'm seeing that there's some kind of advantage of female education. However, the condition is, female education helps girls. It helps to improve their lives and also the life of their families. Female education also helps to develop the society. Female education, especially politically, it helps to involve and participate in a democratic system in the country. So I conclude quickly this topic by saying that female education is very, 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 very important, especially in Africa and in all society in the new era today we are living, especially if Sokoto want to survive in this new era. And it's imperative for the policy maker in Sokoto area to take all their responsibility to send children to school. That will help without any doubt to grow up the children and help the society as large. Thank you very much.